So let's imagine a situation. You have been recently promoted at your workplace and you're quite happy with the promotion that has come your way. But often you tend to have this feeling that maybe I didn't deserve this promotion. Maybe there were other people who are far better than me. Perhaps, you know what, I don't deserve any promotion for that matter, or anything that I've gotten in life. I don't know how I've gotten it. I think I just got plain lucky. Do you have that kind of feeling quite often? If you have, that's a very common feeling to have. This feeling that you are having is what is called in psychology as imposter syndrome. Now, what is an imposter syndrome? When you feel that the success that you've achieved, irrespective of the efforts that you've put in, you tend to feel that you're a fraud, that you don't deserve it, that you don't belong here. And perhaps all of this is kind of just plain luck. Well, research tells us that up to 82% people tend to feel this way. In fact, there was a research that was conducted and published in the Journal of General Internal Medicine. And the statistics reveal that up to 82% people across the globe, irrespective of whichever field they are in, tend to suffer from imposter syndrome. So if you're one of them, breathe easy. You're not the only sole exception. There are many people across the globe who suffer from it. Now, the term imposter syndrome was first coined in the year 1978 when researchers and psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes coined this term. We call it imposter syndrome. So, what exactly is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is a feeling wherein you put in the efforts, you achieve success, but irrespective of that, you still believe that you don't deserve it, that you feel like a fraud who is just there somewhere but not through persistence or efforts, but by plain luck. So, why do you feel like that? Because it's a very natural phenomena, especially when early in your career or maybe in late in your career, there are a lot of people who feel that. It's a very common feeling to have. And I've seen students, I've seen teachers, I've seen researchers, I've seen professionals, businessmen, and a lot of other people in different walks of life suffering from an imposter syndrome. It's a very natural feeling to have. But that's not what we are here to talk about. We are here to talk about what can we do about it, right? Because if imposter syndrome creates a sense of humility in you, because of which you tend to push yourself and try to perform better at each stage, then I think it's okay. But when imposter syndrome tends to freeze you, when you start doubting yourself to an extent where you start believing that I don't deserve anything, or for that matter, it creates so much of self doubt that you don't feel like you deserve anything. And that is where it becomes a problem. So you've got to deal with that problem and you've got to take it head on. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So what do we do when we suffer from an imposter syndrome? First of all, check, acknowledge your feelings. Is this what you're feeling right now? If you're feeling that way, then these steps might be of some help. So number one, whenever you have a feeling of imposter syndrome, ask yourself, what's the trigger? What causes that feeling in me? Is it success? Or is it when someone makes a remark? Or when I try to do something and I fail in it, do I start having an imposter syndrome? So what exactly is the trigger that makes you feel like an imposter, that you don't belong, that you don't deserve? So what is that initial trigger is something that you got to look out for, identify. Perhaps that will help you to spot those loopholes in your thought process and plug those gaps. So the first thing you do is to identify what causes, what triggers this feeling. Number two, and this is perhaps common for a lot of people, especially in today's world where we are used to this obsession, is not to compare yourself with other people. Because the moment you start comparing with yourself, then there is a yardstick of comparison, and that often causes you to feel low about yourself. You feel that the other person is far more deserving, far more better than you. And sometimes you feel that you're not doing sufficient, you're not doing enough. And all of that also triggers the thought process of feeling like an imposter. So comparing yourself with others, bad idea. What you could rather do is to compare yourself with your own past performance, and that's a far more logical comparison. In fact, we often use the phrase comparing oranges and apples, but we all do that because the moment you compare yourself with anyone else, you are actually comparing oranges versus apples. So it's better to do an apple to apple comparison. Look at your own performance in the recent past, in the distant past, and pave the way for your future, I think that's a far better approach. But comparing yourself with others may be a terrible idea. Number three, get support. Now, as I said, up to 82% people feel like an imposter, right? It's a common feeling. So, which means that there are many other people who can correlate, who can empathize with how you feel about it. Therefore, it's good that you talk to other people who might have been through similar circumstances or who might have gone through similar situations, and you tell them about what you're feeling. Sometimes letting out your feelings in front of someone whom you trust is a great way to deal with it. And you might not have an immediate answer from the other person, but that's okay. You want someone to listen to you patiently and lend you an empathetic ear. That's what you want. Okay, so talk to people, get help, ask people if they too feel about it the same way like you do. And in most cases, you'll figure out that people don't feel about it the same way like you do. People don't think of you as someone who doesn't deserve it. And therefore, there is nothing to feel alarmed about it. Okay, so chill and relax. Number four, and I think this is extremely important. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't do this, is to celebrate small victories. And what I mean by that is if you ever watch cricket match, or for that matter, football, whatever is your favorite sport. So when does a team celebrate in cricket? Or when does the audience or the spectators celebrate? Do they celebrate only when the team wins? Or do they celebrate throughout? The answer is they celebrate throughout. For example, every time a boundary is scored in cricket, you see the audience jumping. Every time a wicket is picked up, the audience is jumping, right? Similarly, in football, every time a goal is scored, you see the audience getting enthusiastic. So the fact is, you got to look for these small opportunities. You can't wait for the last minute, the last achievement to say that, you know what, I've arrived now and now I can celebrate. So you got to achieve, you got to celebrate those achievements, and you got to do that at regular milestones. So no matter how big a journey you're going through, uh, take a moment to smell the roses. Enjoy your achievements, because the moment you do that, you don't feel like an imposter because you know that I worked hard for this and I thoroughly and richly deserve this. And that's a great way to to burst the bubble called imposter syndrome, because a lot of times people, I think, do not celebrate enough. When I say celebration, it need not be a huge celebration, but just a cake cut or perhaps a movie session or going out with your friends, whatever you like to do, celebrate it in your same small way, and that can help you tone yourself the right way, and it will get your thoughts back on track, and you won't feel like an imposter. Another thing that you can do if nothing of this works, and this is one of my favorite ones, is to fake it till you make it. Now, what does that mean? When you feel like an imposter, it immediately attacks your self-confidence. You start doubting yourself. You start feeling like, can't do this. I don't deserve this, right? So how you attack that feeling? The way to attack that feeling is to say that I am confident about who I am. I'm happy with the kind of person I am. And you may not be completely happy with who you are, but that's okay. The fact is, you got to showcase and demonstrate confidence to begin with, right? So sometimes you have to start looking confident before you start feeling confident. And that's very important. Often you first feel confident and then you look confident, but here you got to reverse the cycle. You got to first showcase a body language which is positive, which is upbeat, which is confident. And when you do that, you actually start feeling confident. Try that the next time. Perhaps when you do this, you will feel that you deserve something, that you are worth it. And I think that's the reason you got to start taking it initially till the time you make it. But don't be a fake forever. I think that's a bad idea. But the fact is, you got to push yourself into doing something, even though it's unnatural to begin with, till the time that it becomes completely natural to you. Okay, so fake it till you make it. Once you make it, you don't need to fake it any further. You can then become natural. You can express yourself positively. And there will be times that imposter syndrome will come back and will keep knocking on the door. But you got to accept it like a good old friend and treat it with respect, but don't allow it to stay in your home forever. That's how you treat imposter syndrome. Okay. So what do you do with it? Few things that you can look for. First and foremost, identify triggers. What is causing imposter syndrome in me? What do I do about it? Number two, do not compare. I repeat, do not compare yourself with others. The world will do that. Let the world do it, but you don't do it. Number three, get support. It's okay to ask for help because a lot of people have been through imposter syndrome and a lot of people will go through it in the future as well. Number four, celebrate small victories. Anything that you achieve is because of hard work, maybe a little bit of luck as well, but it's a cause for celebration. And number five, take it till you make it. Okay, do it again and again and again till the time you actually start feeling confident and it comes to you naturally. Now, in spite of all of this, what should I do if I still suffer from imposter syndrome? As I said, it's not the end of the world. Imposter syndrome is a phenomena that you can easily deal with. The important thing is to recognize imposter syndrome, okay, and not to stay in it forever. So talk about it. I think having conversations with people is always a great idea, and don't worry about it. It's a good thought process once in a blue moon to have, but to be an imposter or to feel like an imposter forever is to do disservice to your own self confidence. Right. So those are a few things that you must do, try to do, and let me know what you feel about it. So the next time you get a promotion or you get a raise or you get something in life, don't think it's plain luck. You have earned it. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll get back to you soon with something else worth listening to. Bye bye for now.